6-month mark, or Memorial Day, is coming up very soon. It feels like it was just Valentine's Day. I do apologize for being tardy today. Facebook has decided to do some new things, and my system was thrown out and had to come back in entirely new. So there's the reason for the delay, the 15-minute delay, and again, I apologize. Today is a very interesting title, and it's very interesting that I was delayed in getting here, since we are going to be talking about shadows, caves, and the underneath of whatever may be showing up in your life and in our world. And by underneath, it's kind of that, not only that which is hidden, but that which goes on down below in the dark, much like in plants, way down in the soil. A lot goes on, much that we do not see, much that is in many ways destructive, because it's taking things apart, or things are oftentimes in a deathing mode, and they disintegrate into the soil, into the earth. And while that may on the surface seem like something negative or seemingly harmful, it is absolutely vital for that growth and rebirthing of the plant. So we have a lot of that going on right now. We have the underneath, or the underbelly, let's put it that way, of humanity. The worst of the worst is being revealed through the war in Ukraine. And again, not like that hasn't gone on in many countries and in many horrific forms for many years. This happens to be in the news because A, it's Europe, B, it is from a country that has been little by little encroaching upon other cultures one way or the other, and a representative of the very old way that there can be control and oppression and power over, and the disenfranchisement, the disempowerment, the deceit and manipulation of the masses. And I was talking to my neighbor earlier today, and pointing out, we were talking about what's going on in the world, and what came from that discussion was the realization and for me, the emphasis that the only way we are going to be able to move into the new way, the new world, the new earth, is for the people to rise up and take responsibility and decide what each individual wants this world to be like. And again, we have a lot of influences and helpers from the cosmos. We have much helping us from the earth, but it is rebuilding a relationship, first and foremost with self, secondly with others, whether they are of similar philosophy or similar beliefs, or very, very different and even completely divergent from our beliefs, our way, our wanting and not wanting. Everybody is basically underneath wants the same things, the same basic things. Clean air, clean water, freedom to be able to, or freedom from the threat of your life, whether it's through a gunman coming in and shooting up a grocery store, or whether it is a leader coming into your country and taking your land, or whether it is, as it is in other places, Belarus for one, a leader staying in power so long and gearing everything towards what will benefit him, to the extent where people are even losing their culture and losing the remembrance of who they are, their identity of a culture, as a culture. So we are seeing, and what is being revealed is the underbelly of humanity, the shadow of humanity, and what's been hidden in dark, dank, inaccessible places within us and within our species. So it really demands at this point, is calling forth your own personal connection and the exploration, transformation, transmutation, metamorphosis, whatever level you can. Clients that are in my practice tend to do the transmutation work and the metamorphosis, because they are going so deeply that their process, once through and to the other side, not only changes their life radically, but it also has profound effects on multiple levels. I mentioned in a post earlier this week the unreal event that we had for the lunar eclipse. And although there were not many people there, each person was doing such depth of work that they stood for hundreds, if not thousands, of people in that, because we were addressing the personal, the family lineage issues, the ancestral cultural issues that they chose to work with, collective issues of the collective, and each person chose their own prior to the event. And then, given the energetics and the combination of those that were there and their helpers, there was profound change, not only felt that night, but they've been keeping me updated since then, and really, really feeling it. And when you have these profound transmutations being done by those that are working on a soul mastery level, or those that are attending such groups, it is absolutely going to catalyze the opposite to come forward. Sometimes in one's own life, I had a client, fairly new client, this was her, I think, second session, and she noticed that after the last session, her physical pain was worse. And when we started working with this, she came to a realization that the issue that was brought forward was only, she only allowed, her defense system only allowed it to be dealt with at a certain level. And she was so used to managing things and doing certain practices to kind of work with the upper levels or surface levels of an issue, and do so much through her mind or else spiritual practices. And she hadn't actually had an opportunity or someone to accompany her into the depths of the emotional pieces that are very much hidden. They are very much unknown. She has a very huge space of memory loss as a child, and that's a very strong indicator that there were pains or woundings that occurred that her little system could not feel the extent of, and therefore just numbed her out, blanked her out, just erased it from her memory so that it wouldn't be accessible until now, at such time when she has the strength and the capacity and the intellect to be able to understand at least the process that we work with, and to really allow herself to go in deeply, and through that emotional re-experiencing, she had a huge shift. I haven't heard back from her today. That was just yesterday. But I saw in her field, it literally rewrites down to the DNA. So I am waiting to hear back from her over the next couple days how she's experiencing that change. And that's what's so exciting, is that the work that we do one-on-one is not merely kind of getting a cognitive awareness and following your behavior and, catching yourself, or writing out affirmations and intentions. But in fact, it is rewriting not only the person's personal DNA, but as a result, the human species DNA. So we're essentially creating a new humanity, and by these individual trailblazers, whether they're in a one-on-one session, or whether, for example, those beautiful beings who attended the lunar eclipse event, and we're working on behalf of so many. Some of the other shadow pieces and underbelly is how we treat nature and our disconnect from nature, from the earth, from the seasons and the cycles and the climate and the weather and everything that goes on. We look at the weather in order to determine what we wear, or whether to plan an event. And in reality, it is there's a very responsive back and forth between all of the factors that make up the weather on a daily basis. And when we don't acknowledge and bring a level of respect and recognition and valuing of all of those aspects of our earth, she's responding in the only way that she can. She is so out of balance, much like, an individual. When you're very out of balance, you are going to respond detrimentally to yourself and or to those around you. Not necessarily intentionally, but because there is just such a huge amount of energy that is not being processed and therefore channeled into constructive ways. And this system was created for a very intimate, very symbiotic, very dynamic relationship back and forth between us and the earth. And we know about the fire, for example, that's going on in New Mexico, but how many of us are actually not only feeling for those people involved, but all of the animals and the land itself that is being that is burning and burning and burning and burning. And much, again, we've had so many fires around the world, floods, and it's only going to get worse. Just as in any relationship, when one party is being dismissed, disregarded, devalued, disrespected, they are going to manifest kind of turmoil around them, and they are going to be physically affected because their system is completely hurt, pained, in fear, anger, without it being resolved. And as much as one may try to suppress that, it's going to explode out in different ways. So the earth has tolerated a great deal over many, many, many years, and now those detrimental actions on behalf of man are reaching a radical tipping point. The house is on fire, and it's becoming more evident every single day that we must do something to put out this fire constantly going on in our home, metaphorically speaking. That, report after report after report of many different disciplines of science are bringing, thank goodness for what happened with the pandemic, because so many different disciplines of science are communicating and in touch with one another that they wouldn't normally have been previously. And this has allowed for a comparison and bringing together of diverse avenues of information obtained, to be able to truly see a better picture of what's going on, what's causing it, what are the triggers, etc. So that's, again, part of what has been in shadow. We have known about it since way back in the 70s. There were steps being begun to address this, and still we have ignored, still we have left it in the shadows and caves and underneath, and negated it and denied it, much like we do with our own individual difficulties or pains. So one of the beautiful helpers that has come forth for today to kind of counteract and work with this disconnect, this attempt to hide or keep undercover or keep in the shadows those aspects of us individually and collectively, is the medicine wheel. Native American medicine wheel has been a means and a source of teaching and spiritual practices for and on behalf of the individual and the earth. It allows for a profound connection back to nature. It's represented by, first of all, the circle. Second of all, the 4 cardinal points, the directions, actually 7 points: east, west, south, north, above, below, and the within, which we work with every time we drop into a practice, at least through my work. And it also brings, when we view nature as something separate from us, as disconnected, as I was mentioning earlier, it's supposed to be a relationship, a back and forth, symbiotic giving and receiving, back and forth, and communication and connection. And when that doesn't happen and we see the earth and nature as just a thing, it really affects our bodies, our internal world. It maintains separation and alienation of us as groups, as cultures, from the land that we live on, as well as ourselves. Because when we can see nature, oh yeah, it looks pretty, but that's very, very different than being in communication and communing with and collaborating with nature. And that's what heals our bodies. That's what feeds our bodies. That's what reconnects us to our deeper self and to the divine, both within us and within all things. Remembering that every molecule, every single molecule, every atom on this planet is a spark of energy. And that spark it connects with all the other sparks. It is all the same thing. It takes different forms, but it basically, an underlying is energy. And that energy is consciousness directed by us. One of the beautiful quotes in shadow work is that, let me make sure that I'm not misquoting in any way. This is a quote by Teal Swan, and I really think it reveals a lot of the work that not only I do with clients, but for everyone to remember. Your shadow is nothing more than the part of you that is unconscious and therefore hidden from your awareness. The unconscious is filled with all kinds of things that you have judged as unacceptable about you. And shadow work is nothing more than the art of making the unconscious conscious and the unacceptable acceptable. It's a beautiful quote, and I would take it even further, that those shadow pieces are very, very purposeful, that you laid out for yourself as a means of exploring, transmuting, metamorphosizing, so that you then are able to not only be more of who you are truly as a human, bringing forth your real self before any or the original divine pattern of you, let's put it, before any of the other patterning distorted that, but more so to be able to channel in your multi-existential self. We are at a time when those who are working on mastery soul level projects are literally living multi-existentially throughout their daily life, and thereby embedding and bringing in these energetics for this grand process of evolution. And that does entail looking, feeling, exploring, going into the deepest levels of the shadow. A beautiful quote by Mirabai Starr, a wonderful spiritual teacher, said that this is a time of engaging with our shadows, personal and collective, engaging our spiritual practices on behalf of all beings, and engaging with that grief and lament. We are losing many things, many people, and although it may be part of the process of evolution, the pain and the grief is still very, very, very real. And we have so much available to us. Today is Endangered Species Day, and I couldn't even read the article earlier today, but the title of the article was, "A man did receive 14 years in jail for having started a fire that destroyed many condors." And the condor, I didn't read the article fully to know where this was, but condors were almost extinct here in this country, and it took a great deal of work and many, many years of protection and fostering them and making sure that their habitats were healthy and available to them. So this is a crime. It's a crime not only against the condors, but it's a crime against humanity, because without some of those key players and vital species, we are not going to be able to continue here on this planet. So if you've listened to any of these talks before, I mentioned that the world, not just the UN, but the World Court has determined that destruction purposeful, knowing destruction of land or aspects of environment is a crime, much like war crimes. And hopefully in future they will be brought to court, and people will be punished or pay for that destruction. Bats keep showing up for the past couple weeks. Again, a beautiful animal teacher that I mentioned last week that represents many things. One of them is rebirth. The bats hang upside down, and that's very symbolic of us in the womb and how we come into this world. So we can access them and align with that energy of rebirthing and the fascination of their existence within the cave, within the dark. For that is their habitat, is the dark. And yet they are incredibly loving, beautiful, intelligent, very family oriented, beautiful, beautiful animals. So we can tap into that beauty within the dark through the bat. I'm just pulling up a beautiful prayer by Mirabai Star that I'm going to bring in for that energy. And excuse me, it just went away. I'm going to have to pull it up another way, forgive me. And in the meantime, I would like you to also invite the energy of whale that has been showing up. And whales, again, live, so to speak, in the dark, but of course they do peek, come out, and that love that they have for their children, the deep, deep, deep connection that they, mother and child, and even, the father, always watching, always protecting. It is a beautiful metaphor for us and our families. I am so sorry. For some reason, it just came off of my screen. If I'm unable to pull it up right now, I will post it to everyone and allow you to experience this beautiful prayer by a very special and, I would say, very in touch and rather advanced spiritual teacher. I am sorry, it doesn't seem to be appearing for some reason. So we're going to just drop in at this point with all of this energy, both the, putting on behalf of this practice, or rather allowing this practice to be on behalf of the fire burning in New Mexico, on behalf of those suffering and really in pain in Ukraine, those that have lost so much in other countries through different climate change effects, those endangered species, because today is Endangered Species Day. And we're going to invite the medicine wheel and the energy of engagement with the shadow instead of attempting to avoid it and push it away or numb it or lose our conscious awareness of what is occurring. And we're going to invite in also the energy of a cave, or caves, which is very, very powerful, not only in its symbolism and metaphor for what is hidden, what's in the dark, but moreover that it was the first shelter for humans. It was the first sacred places. There are many that are actually endangered, sacred caves that have beautiful paintings in Indonesia because of climate change are very at risk for being lost forever. We used them as our homes, as our shelter. It was the place where we could have a fire and gather around it without the fire being blown out, safe from storms. This is also, in many, many cultures, considered the place where gods and ancestors reside. So everything has two sides to it, and although it may look dank and dark and scary, it is also, as I said, one of our first shelters and temples. And we're also inviting in the energy of relationship with the earth, relationship with nature, allowing us to have relationship with ourselves, allowing us to remember that everything is made up of the same energy, the same source, and that although many men attempt to perpetuate that separation and the differences in order to obtain power and resources and money, it is not the truth. And we do not have to align with that old way. We're also inviting in the energy of the whales, that beautiful family relationship, that deep connection with one another, and that they live in the dark. And if you're here live with me, I'd love to hear what things you've been noticing, what you would add into this container at this point in time, whether it's a challenge or some guidance from helpers, unseen, seen, aspects of nature, animals, what have you. Please do, if you can, make a comment or just note in there, because this is a live container. The sacred geometrics have been building as the week has gone on. The contributions of many helpers beyond those I've named have been adding into the mix. This is now chemical blending, a crucible within which all is here, both that which is creative or creation energies and those that are destructive energies, because both must. And when combined together, the energy and the friction of the blending and the mixture of all that is here, including yourself, including your helpers, including your challenges, allows for a transmutation of the aspects that are wanting to evolve at this point, and bringing forward more knowledge, more energies for us to create a new earth, a new world, a new way. So as always, as I mentioned, we have the medicine wheel, the beautiful symbology of the circle with the 4 cardinal points on the medicine wheel itself, but also including the other 3 points, the above, the below, and within. We always have and acknowledge and invite in the elements to be a part of every practice, for they are a part of everything that we see, feel, smell, taste, engage with all day, every day. And as always, we call in the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and all that each of those two apparently opposite or polar points represent. And so just settling in to yourself on your chair, couch, whatever you may be seated upon. And when you notice the urge or the tendency to kind of go up and outward, I invite you to just ask and allow your body, ask and allow your energy field, ask and allow your wider self, which is your soul self. Ask and allow your guides and teachers and masters. Ask and allow all parts of you to join you and assist you in guiding and leading you down and within your own internal experience, to your inner verse. For therein lies all answers, all that you may ever want or need. But it is in the very process of knowing thyself and transmuting or metamorphosizing the pieces that are in shadow, hidden in caves within, underneath other aspects of you, that will enable you to more fully inhabit your human self, thereby allowing you to transmit and emanate the true and divine aspects of you. You need not ever go outside of yourself for anything. It is all within. The trick or the process is in exploring and discovering, uncovering and thereby becoming. I'm just feeling. I'm going to possibly be transmitting through to you many of the energetics that are here. You may hear my voice, but you need not follow the words or the concepts or the ideas. but instead simply feel your way internally. And your energy field and your wider self know exactly how to do this. You need not effort. You need not work. All you need do is allow and feel, sensate, experience you. And what it is like to be in you within this sacred and safe container, with all that is here that I've mentioned and more, all that you bring. For you are so vital to this process of evolution. You are here now, chosen, in this chosen time. And by your participation, personally, in the choices you make, as if you are constantly voting for the new way or the old way. But that does take participation, engagement, participation, choice, actions, yes. What you choose to buy, what you choose to support. In the United States, who you choose as a representative for you. In local governments, state and national. Being aware of and in relationship with yourself to thereby be in relationship to your neighbor. Nature and the earth around you, under you. And those aspects far, far away, in perhaps mileage, but profoundly interconnected and intertwined with your daily life. For whether it is the fire burning thousands and thousands of acres in New Mexico, or a war that is destroying land It is one of the major breadbaskets of this world. With a simple choice of how you obtain your electricity or car. Sacred forests, carrying the burden of much of our air. And the trees in your township, all participants but you have the power to choose. You have a vote every single day, and the more you are inhabiting and knowing and living from your internal true self, the more impactful your vote. The more powerfully your spiritual practices on behalf of other places, other peoples, you do have the power. That is the key factor in this evolutionary leap. The people design, determine, decide yes, with freedom comes responsibility. But the more you have of you, the more you're living from and as your true self, the more easily that responsibility is held or barely felt. Much like a teen who suddenly realizes that doing or not doing their work, their homework, is not for and on behalf of the parent or the teachers or the system, but instead determines their future, brings greater opportunity or not, if they choose to stay young, immature, and dependent upon the so-called adults around them. We are a maturing species if we take up that responsibility and live from that place of freedom. Feel your body, feel your energy field. It is not about the words or the concepts, but about what you are experiencing in this container. This container of you, this container made up of you and all the many helpers and energetics and others that will be listening at any point in time. So really feeling yourself deep within, deeply surrounded, held by this container and all that is at this moment combining and blending for your highest and best benefit. Now, ever so gently, really allowing your energy field and your wider self to lead you, guide you at your pace and rhythm and way. That doesn't mean to forcefully open your eyes and come out of it, but instead to experience the way in which you move from what has been perhaps a less physical experience back to a more physical experience of this consensus reality. And each person is very different. Some people revolve their way back. Some people float upward. Some people gently wave. Much like a leaf. In a gentle breeze coming to land upon the earth. Everyone is different, and you have your own rhythm, your own pace, your own timing, so please allow yourself to do so. If you choose to stay within this energy, within this container, you are welcome to do so. Please know that you will always come back, so to speak, fully integrated and ready to move throughout the rest of your day or evening, enhanced by your experience of yourself within yourself. And please, if you haven't already, join the Applied Alchemy group. Keep your eyes peeled for the prayer from Mirabai Star I will post later today. And please comment below this video of what you've been noticing this past week as far as either challenges or things that are standing out in our world, perhaps making you sad or angry, as well as any helpers or energetics or beings or aspects of nature that have come to you to assist you and guide you. And as always, it is with the deepest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on the planet. And until next time, bye-bye.